Half the Plymouth colony would have been buried by spring. Gold rush miners would have died of scurvy in creek beds full of food. Settlers froze in forests packed with dinner. 5 plants fed entire tribes through winter. Every spring, the food came back. Nobody planted it, nobody watered it, nobody weeded it. They're still growing in every state in America, and most people walk right past them every single day. Here are 5 you can grow once and harvest forever. The last one spreads so aggressively that gardeners build concrete walls to contain it. But first, the plant that saved gold rush miners from dying in the dirt. Number 5. Miner's lettuce. Most people think lettuce is fragile. You plant it, it dies. You plant it again. Wrong. There's a wild salad green that grows itself, seeds itself, and comes back every year. You do nothing. It's called miner's lettuce, Claytonia perfoliata, native to western North America, hardy in zones 6 through 9. The leaves are bizarre. 2 leaves fuse around the stem into a perfect green disc, with tiny white flowers blooming right out of the center. You'll never mistake it for anything else. Here's the history. California gold rush. Miners working the streams were dying of scurvy, gums bleeding, teeth falling out. Then they found this little green plant carpeting the creek banks. Loaded with vitamin C, they ate it raw by the handful. It saved their lives. That's how it got its name. Here's the wild part. In cool, damp climates, miner's lettuce is a true perennial. It just keeps growing. In hotter regions, it self-seeds before summer hits, then explodes back in autumn into a thick winter carpet. Either way, you plant it once. It returns forever. Plant it in partial to deep shade, moist soil, pH 5.5 to 7. Put it in full sun, and the leaves turn bitter. Tuck it under fruit trees or against a north wall, and you'll have tender greens all winter. The taste? Crisp, mild, slightly sweet. Somewhere between spinach and watercress. Eat young leaves raw. Steam older leaves like spinach. One warning: mature leaves contain oxalates. Don't eat them by the bucket if you get kidney stones. But the next plant is so toxic to dogs and cats that a single teaspoon can destroy their red blood cells. Number 4. Nodding onion. Most people think you have to plant onions every year. Wrong. There's a native onion that comes back every spring on its own, splits itself into new bulbs, survives 40 below zero. It's called the nodding onion, Allium cernuum, native across temperate North America, hardy in zones 3 through 9. It grows from a conical bulb with grass-like green leaves. In mild winters, it stays evergreen harvestable through the cold months when nothing else in your garden is alive. Cernuum is Latin for nodding. Here's why. In midsummer, the flower stalk shoots up, then bends sharply at the top, so the bell-shaped pink flowers hang downward. It looks like a delicate chandelier swaying in the wind. Indigenous peoples harvested these bulbs for thousands of years. Plant the bulbs in full sun, well-drained soil, pH 6 to 7.5, then leave them alone. Every 1 to 2 years, dig up a clump, harvest the big bulbs, replant the small offsets. That's it. That's the entire maintenance cycle. The colony expands on its own. The taste is exactly what you want, sharper than a grocery store onion. Clean, garlicky bite. Use them raw, cooked, pickled, dried. The green leaves work like chives. Now the serious warning: if you have dogs or cats, fence this bed off. Onions contain compounds that turn into red blood cell destroying poisons inside a pet's body. Cooking doesn't help. Boiling doesn't help. Drying doesn't help. The toxicity stays. Cats are devastated by 5 grams per kilogram. Dogs at 15 to 30. Akitas, Shiba Inus, and Japanese Spitz are extra sensitive. There is no antidote. Never feed onion scraps to pets, ever. But the next plant shows up on fancy spring restaurant menus at $15 a plate, and it grows wild for free. Number 3. Ostrich fern. Walk into a high-end restaurant in April. Look at the spring menu. You'll see fiddleheads, tight green spirals that look like the head of a violin. Restaurants charge $15 for a tiny plate. They grow wild for free if you know where to look. The plant is the ostrich fern, Matutia struthiopteris, native to northern and eastern North America, hardy in zones 2 through 7. It grows in vase-shaped crowns up to 6 feet tall. The fronds look exactly like ostrich feathers. That's where the name comes from. The edible part is the fiddlehead, the tightly coiled young frond that emerges in early spring before it unfurls. Here's the rule that keeps the plant alive. Take more than 50% of the fiddleheads from a single crown, and the plant collapses. Stay under 50% per crown, or under 20% across the whole colony, and it comes back just as strong next year. Take too much, kill it forever. Plant them in cool, moist, shaded sites, rich organic soil, pH 5.5 to 6.5. They love wet floodplain soil. Mulch every year with leaf mold or compost that mimics the river floods they evolved with. Bonus: the ostrich fern is the only host of the rare ostrich fern borer moth. You're feeding native biodiversity at the same time. The taste is somewhere between asparagus and green beans, with a grassy, nutty finish. Now the critical warning: eat fiddleheads raw or undercooked, and you're going to the emergency room. They contain a natural toxin that causes nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, and brutal stomach cramps within 30 minutes to 12 hours. Severe dehydration in vulnerable people. Here's how to prepare them safely. Rub off the papery brown husks, wash in cold water, boil for a full 15 minutes or steam for 10 to 12. Discard the cooking water. That's where the toxin goes. Only then can you sauté, fry, or bake them. But the next plant literally fed the pilgrims through their first winter, and the colonists ate it so aggressively that some New England colonies passed laws, making it illegal for settlers to dig it on native land. Number 2. American groundnut. Plymouth, 1621. The pilgrims are starving. Their first winter killed nearly half of them. They have no idea what to eat from the land around them. Then Native Americans show them a climbing vine with a chain of tubers underground like a string of pearls strung along the roots. The pilgrims eat them. They survive. Then the story turns dark. Colonists started digging up groundnut on Native American land so aggressively that New England colonies passed laws banning settlers from harvesting them on tribal ground. The plant that saved them became the reason for the laws. It's called American groundnut, Apios americana. Some people call it hopness. It's a perennial climbing vine in the legume family, native to eastern and central North America, hardy in zones 3 through 7, found at pre-Columbian archaeological sites. Cultivated by the Omaha, Dakota, Cheyenne, and Pawnee for centuries before Europeans ever arrived. The vine climbs up to 20 feet in a single season, fragrant burgundy flowers in summer. Here's the agronomic bombshell. Groundnut fixes its own nitrogen. The roots partner with bacteria in the soil, the same kind soybeans use. Plants with that partnership produce up to 30% more tubers in poor soil. But there's a catch. Hit it with synthetic fertilizer, and the plant redirects everything into leaves instead of tubers. You'll get a beautiful trellis full of vines and almost nothing to eat. Inoculate, then leave it alone. Plant the tubers in spring. Moist, acidic, well-drained soil, sturdy trellis. The vines will smother any neighbor without strong support. You can harvest the first season, but 2 to 3 years of undisturbed growth gives you a real crop. The frost sweetens them. The taste is nutty, earthy, deeply savory. Boil, mash, roast, or fry, just like potatoes. Way more protein than potatoes. Now, the danger. Raw groundnut contains compounds that physically block protein digestion in your gut. Eat it raw, and you'll be doubled over with stomach pain. The good news? Heat destroys them. Boiling, roasting, or frying breaks down the inhibitors completely. Then, your body absorbs all that protein. Keep them away from pets. Raw groundnut is toxic to dogs and cats. But the number one plant on this list is the easiest food crop in all of North America. It spreads so aggressively that gardeners build concrete walls to contain it, and it can feed an entire family on a single bed. Number 1. Sunchoke. Native American tribes traded its tubers across half the continent. French farmers brought it back to Europe in the 1600s. It saved villages from famine before the potato ever arrived. Today it grows wild across America, and most people walk right past it every single day. It's called the sunchoke, Helianthus tuberosus, also known as the Jerusalem artichoke, even though it's not from Jerusalem and it's not an artichoke. It's a native North American sunflower with knobby, edible tubers underground. Native to eastern and central North America, hardy in zones 3 through 9. The yellow blooms shoot over 10 feet high, feeding native pollinators late in the season when nothing else is blooming. The stalks are so dense, you can plant them as a living wall, a windbreak, or a privacy screen. Below ground, a massive network of rhizomes producing dozens of tubers per plant, every season. Plant tubers 6 inches deep, 2 to 3 feet apart, well-drained loam, pH 6 to 7.5. Soil, at least 43 to 45 degrees Fahrenheit. Stake the stalks against wind. Want bigger tubers? Thin the weak stems early. Cut the flower buds before they bloom. That forces the plant to push all its energy underground. Now here's why this is number 1. Sunchokes are aggressive. The rhizomes spread so far and so fast, they can crack compacted clay over a few seasons. Serious growers contain them with poured concrete, mortared stone, or heavy-duty root barriers, buried 18 inches deep. The simple fix? Surround the bed with a 4-foot grass border and mow it twice a season. That alone stops them. Harvest in late autumn after the first frost. The cold turns the plant's starches into sweet inulin. The taste? Creamy potato when roasted. Crunchy water chestnut when raw. A clean, nutty sweetness you cannot buy at a grocery store. Cut the stalks down, run them through a wood chipper. Use the chips as winter mulch on the same bed. The plant literally feeds itself. One small warning: eat large quantities raw, and you'll get spectacular gas and bloating. That's the inulin. Roasting or steaming breaks it down into digestible fructose. Cook it, and the problem disappears. Good news for pet owners: sunchokes are completely safe for dogs, cats, and livestock. If you plant one thing from this list this spring, plant sunchokes. By next fall, you'll have more food than you can eat. By the year after, you'll have a permanent food source that comes back every single year without you doing anything. No tilling, no replanting, no fertilizer, no seed packets. Plant all 5, and you've built a native forest garden in your backyard. Sunchokes as the towering canopy. Groundnut as the nitrogen-fixing climber feeding everything below. Ostrich ferns in the moist shade. Nodding onion in the sunny gaps. Miner's lettuce carpeting the ground all winter. 5 layers, 1 planting. Food forever. That's the whole point of native perennials. They evolved here. They know how to live here. They fed entire nations for thousands of years before anyone showed up with a plow. Plant just one of these this spring. By next year, dinner shows up without you lifting a finger. Think about what that actually means. 1 afternoon of work, 1 bed in your yard, and for the rest of your life, food shows up every spring, whether you remember it or not, whether the power's on or not, whether the supply chain holds or not. The tribes who lived here understood something we forgot. Real wealth grows in the ground and comes back on its own. You just learned 5 ways to get that wealth back. Subscribe so you don't lose it again. Like the video so someone else finds it. And tell me below, which one are you starting with?